Hello everyone, we are the group 6 and today in this lesson we are going to conquer the topic of hypothesis testing. It's one of the most central things that students study in all statistic courses, and it gives a lot of problems, and we're actually very excited to teach hypothesis testing because I believe we can break it down into a bit-sized chunks. So, take it from the bird's eye point of view. There's going to be some cases when we have small samples, and there's going to be some cases that we have larger samples. And also, in these different cases, we're going to have or to use different distributions or slightly techniques to get there. So we have this thing called hypothesis test. So let's talk about the idea of hypothesis testing. Ano man ni siyang hypothesis testing? So, hypothesis testing is an educated guess, or it's a claim that we want to test. So, and the way we investigate things in statistics, we can just go into a laboratory and like to do an experiment. But we can do is we can go ask a survey of about 100 people, or get some data, and or maybe 300 people get some data, and we can use that to study the population. So when we talk about investigating a claim or testing a claim, what are we talking about is doing some sample and getting that information and then testing the hypothesis. So much like science, you have an idea and what you test, why you test that you want to test. So for me, for example, is my hypothesis is for example, is a school wants to determine if a new teaching method improves students' scores. So they test two groups. The first one is taught using traditional methods, and the other group is test using the new methods. So dira na mo sulod si hypothesis testing. And there are two kinds of hypotheses which are going to be discussed by the next report. Okay.
So, good morning everyone. I am the next reporter, and I am Janice May Jimena, and in my part, I will be reporting about null hypothesis. So now, let's know what is null hypothesis. So, null hypothesis, it is denoted by a big H, and we have here 0 sa yahang kilid, and then it is the main initial, which is claim, which is ang null hypothesis, which is the claim, and it shows no significance different, no change, nothing happened, no relationship between two parents. The independent variable has no effect, which is ang null hypothesis, which is wala siya ga depende sa both sides, which is siya rajot, which is 1, and then null hypothesis, which is no effect, which is on the dependent variable. So the variation or the formula for this is H, dayon big letter H, and then 0, and then M1, which is the another example, represent the example, and then equal to M2. So we can read the null hypothesis, which is equal to, so the sign of null hypothesis, which is this equal sign, and then we can read that as equal to the same as nothing changed, or from, or is. So in the sentence, we can know the null, or either it is alternative with the sentence with this word. For example, I have here the example: the average age of the bus drivers in Metro Manila is 38.8 years old. So 38 years. So ang balanan ani, which is the word S. because the word S belong to null hypothesis, which is have the equal sign. So we can write that as a null hypothesis m equal to 8 years. So that is my example. Another example from this. Janice may have equal sides in both Metro Manila and Don Salvador that she give to one person and one person. So the sentence that I will give you is, or the word that para balanan nimo nga null na siya is equal to. So that's why it is null. From the word pa lang, mabalanan nimo null na siya from the equal to, is, from, or from this word, same as. And I hope na sabtan ninyo in my part what is null hypothesis, and thank you for listening.
Hi everyone, my name is Mel Jean T. Bendalon and I am the third reporter. So my topic is all about alternative hypothesis. So alternative hypothesis is a statement that shows their differences, change, or effect. So naa siya symbols. So this is the symbols of not equal. So not equal is different from, change from, or not the same. Mo siya ang not equal. So na ikaduwa is a greater than. So I know you all already know this sign or symbols. So greater than, kung siya above, higher than, longer than, bigger than, and increase at least. So less than naman is below, lower than, smaller than, shorter than, decrease or reduce from, at most. So I have here an example. So the average age of bus driver in Metro Manila is 38 years. So this is already discussed ni Ma'am Jimena. So mao ni siya ang null hypothesis. Then paano na to siya kuanon to alternative hypothesis? So naa siya diri is ang alternative, which is the alternative hypothesis, which is ang HA. Dayon ang mean. So okay, ang example diri is the average age ko no sa bus driver in Metro Manila is 38 years, 38.8 years. So paano na to siya kuha to alternative? So unsa tong gamiton nga symbols? So not equal. Dili man tanan nga bus drivers is the same og 38 years, 38.8 years man siya. So dili man siya kanang 38.8 years ra gid ang kuan sa bus drivers average age. So gamitan na to siya ang mean equal ang not equal, then 38.8 years. So mao na siya. So diri man sa null hypothesis ang H dayon kaning 0 dayon dash M ang mean mean mao ni siya ang MU. So naa siya 38.8 years. So mao ni siya ang null, and then mao ni siya ang alternative. Alternative hypothesis kung paano siya kwaon. Ato ang gikuan diri is ang symbols ra. Paano nato mabutang ang symbols? Paano nato siya ma-identify? So mao na siya HA, then dot mean dayon gigamitan nato siya og ng not equal 38.8 years. I-copy ra nato ni ang given nga sa example. So diri ta sa example number 2. The average number of calories of a low-calorie meal is at most 300. So, naana po ni siya ang null hypothesis. So, naa siya MU, kung ano na siya diri equal 300 calories, natin diri. So, paano na ito dapat siya kwaon into alternative hypothesis? So, naa siya diri H, may A, then ang mean niya is 300 calories, given na diri. So, paano na to siya? Naa diri at most. So, pangitaon na to diri sa given nga sa symbols. So, at most, naman siya sa less than. So, gamiton na to ang sign sa less than para makuha na to ang 300 calories. So, alternative hypothesis, dahil ang mean niya, this gigamitan na to og less than nga symbols to 300 calories. Kay, ang gipangita diri is calories as low man, low calorie. So, gikuha na to siya sa decrease, gapaubos siya. Then, nako sa given is at most. So, ma-identify ra ginato siya kay naaman siya ikuan sa at most, naaman siya ikuan sa less than, meaning kanang kuan sa symbol nga less than. So, ang step by step ani is mo i-discuss sa next reporter.
So hi everybody, it's me Merger Batado. So today I'll be discussing about the steps involved in testing of hypothesis. So number 1 is formulation of null hypothesis, meaning there is no effect or no difference. Number 2 is formulation of alternative hypothesis, meaning there is an effect or difference. Number 3 is the specification of level of significance. It is much rest or willing to take. Number 4 is selection of test statistic and its computation, meaning we choose formula or a test.
Hi everyone, this is Rachel Cervantes. So let's continue to our reporting. So step 5 is the finding out the critical value of tables using the level of significance, sampling distribution, and its degrees of freedom. So this step is about the finding the cutoff point. So when we say cutoff point, it's a limit or boundary that help us decide who or what they included or excluded. So, like for example, these are pass or fail, qualified or not qualified, positive or negative. So, this helps us to decide whether to reject the null hypothesis. So, we look for the value in statistical table. So, I have here an example. If we are using a t-test with 0.05 level of significance and 20 degrees of freedom, the critical value from the t-table is 2.086. If our computed t-value is greater than 2.086, we will reject the null hypothesis. So we using the level of significance. So we have non-statistical table, either Z table or T table. So we have here an example of T table. So we look the table. We have the level of significance. So this is the level of significance. So we have 0.05 level of significance, and then 20 degrees of freedom. So we're looking at the 20. So this is the 20. So now the table is 2.086. So now let's have 20. So this is the, and so this is 2.086. So that's it. The example of step number 5. So now let's proceed to step 6. So now determination of the significance of the test statistics. So in these steps, we're going to compare the computed value from our data. So with the critical value from the table, so if our computed value is greater, so it means the result is significant. So when we say significance, it is strong evidence that did not happen easily by a chance, then did not happen by chance. Then means the most or the result is meaningful, not just a random. So because of that, you're going to reject the null hypothesis. You say that the original idea is probably wrong, so you need to reject the null hypothesis. So now step 6 is we're going to compare na. So, we have an example. So, if our comparative value is 2.50 and our critical value is 2.086, right? So, since 2.50 is greater than 2.086, the result is significant. So, right? So, when we say significant again, it is a strong evidence and did not happen by a chance. So, then after you are going to compare, we need to go to the next steps, which is step 7. So, decision about the null hypothesis based on the significance of the test statistics. So, now we make a decision. So, if the test is significant, we reject the null hypothesis. If it's not significant, we need to accept the null hypothesis. So when we say not significant, it's a weak evidence, easily happen by a chance, and so it's not enough to prove anything. You keep or accept the idea or the null hypothesis. So like for example of step 7, because of our test result was significant, we reject the null hypothesis and say that there is a difference between the two groups. Yan. This is the example. So now, after we're going to decide whether it's significant or not significant, we're going to move on to the next step, which is the last step, which is the writing the conclusion in such a way that it answers the question on hand. So, finally, we write a clear and simple conclusion that answers the research question. So, we explain whether there is a significant difference or not between the groups we studied. So, like for example, so if significant, there is a significant difference between the average scores of boys and girls. So if not significant, there is no significant difference between the average scores of boys and girls. So that's it, the steps. Thank you.